All right, so here we are. Let's see who's going to join us. We are going to start in a couple of minutes. So when you join in, please write your name so we know you're here, so we know who's here. At this time, it seems like I'm the only person in the webinar room. So let's give it a few more minutes. All right, so I see there are 3 people in the room. Wonderful. So do you guys want to start by introducing yourselves? The way this system works is if you want to talk, you need to raise your hand, and there is a button that literally looks like hand. So you raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, I will be able to add you to the webinar room. I believe the first time you will be joining in, you will have to install a little plugin. So once I allow you to join in, something will pop up. You will click on that install plugin. It will take a second to install. And then once you're ready, it will ask you to give access to your microphone and video. And I think you'll have to test 3 times your sound. Like you literally click OK, OK, OK. And once that is done, you will be able to join us and talk. And I see at least a couple of people asked to join. So let's see if it's going to work. Before we get to business, I would like to say, and perhaps even apologize in advance. Again, it's a new webinar system. As you know, we used YouTube Live, which used to be named or known as Google On Air. It works wonderfully, really, really like it, but it has a few deficiencies, such as it does not allow, for example, to keep track of who participated in the meeting. And so it didn't work for us, and we had to look for something else. So we had tried already Webinar Ninja. It was a bad system, so it didn't work. Support was non-existent. We are trying now Webinar Jam, a very powerful platform. I very much like the functionality, but when we tried it yesterday for the first time, it seems like some people had a hard time joining the conversation. And I know I just gave access to one person, Remus, I believe it was, and he's still not here, from which I gather that there may be some difficulties with joining the webinar today as well. So anyone else? I see there are 6 people already here. Hopefully there will be a couple more. I think 8 are registered for today. So raise hand. Let me add you to the webinar room. And once you're in, it should allow you to talk together with me. So there are 3 people, Jasmine, Remus, and I'm adding also Yan. So if everything goes fine, guys, what should happen with you is once I added you, and there are 3 people added at this time, you need to install a little plugin, takes 2 seconds. And once it's installed, you can join the webinar, and you will have to give access to your microphone and video. And it did work yesterday for most people. The system was somewhat slow, and there was at least one person who eventually was not able to join at all. So our Remus, it's been 2 minutes probably since I gave him access, and he's not in yet, from which I understand the system may not be as smooth as they promised it would be. So, but anyway, let's see if anyone is able to join, and we will go over the agenda and the questions of business in a minute. So Remus, Jasmine, Ian, can you write in comments what's going on? So evidently it's not working for you, right, guys? So hi, guys. Yeah, I see Estefania is here, Jasmine, Anisha. All right, so Ian is joined. All right, Ian, now that you've joined, you have to give access to your camera and to you can activate the microphone, the sound, and the video. one of the important things we need to decide is which system we will be using in the future. So I encourage you to try all the functions here and tell me if you like it. I also have already bought the account for Zoom. And if this one doesn't work very well today, next time we will test Zoom. And if that one is not good, we have one last resort, which is GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. So all of these are quite expensive. Webinar Jam, the one we're using now, I paid about $500 for it, and that's not even full functionality. So they have also a few other functions that will cost another $300 a year. So that comes up to about $40 a year, 50, 60 with the additional functionality. Expensive, but we need it, so I'm happy to pay as long as it works. And so it doesn't seem to be working. I see that Ian is in the meeting, but I don't see and don't hear him. So I'm not sure if he just didn't give access to his microphone and video. If you hear me, and there are several buttons on the top of your screen, click on the camera and click on the microphone so we can see you. But I know that Jasmine, Estefania, Anisha, and Aurimas asked for access, and they're still not here. So to my disappointment, it seems like the system may not be working very well. Anyway, while you are trying to join in, let me quickly go over the agenda for today. So what we want to talk about and what our plans are. And I think I need to do this. How do we activate it? Just 1 second. Why is not? Strange. All right, what I'll do, I'll just share my screen. Not sure why the presentation doesn't start automatically. That's fine, no big deal. All right, so if everything goes fine, you should see my screen now. And if you do, here is quickly what we are planning to talk about today. So we will do a little introductions, and hopefully the system will allow you to join in and talk, and we can see you. Then I would like to give you a quick update on where we are in Xculture Kids Xculture Academy. So what's done, what we're still working on, and what's going to happen in the next few days. Then I would like to answer your questions if you have any about the terms of our cooperation, the terms of your employment. You already have received your contracts, and I know there were a few typos there, like December 2018 instead of 2017, and probably there are some words that are misspelled, but the general idea should be clear enough. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. There was one question in the yesterday's meeting about the compensation, the system. I will address that separately. And then I will go over some strategic questions, some issues that I sort of don't know the answers to. So there are some things that I don't know how to handle, and I will share those questions with you. If you have comments and suggestions, you can share them right away. And if you don't, just keep those questions, somewhere in your head. If an idea pops up in your head later, just share that with me whenever you have those ideas. And then we'll hopefully have some time for general questions and answers at the end. So let me go back to the video. All right. And so it seems like I'm still the only person here. And why is the system showing? Yeah, I don't want this. I want to go back to my video. And how do I do that? I see Ian is still here, but for some reason we can't add him as a speaker. Let's try it one more time with Aurimas and Jasmine. And yeah, we'll do this. Okay, got it. All right, so you should be able to see me now. Let me ask you in comments, can you hear me and can you see me? Just type in the comments yes if you hear and see me. Noha said that she's having trouble staying connected. I'm not sure if that's your connection or our connection. So if you are hearing me, if you are seeing me, put yes. Okay, so Ian says, okay, Good, good. All right, so it seems like the system is working at least as far as you see me, and I can read your comments. So hopefully that will allow us to, yeah. Mhm. Noah Ramos, I don't see you in the meeting for some reason. I don't even see that you're one of the people here. So Jasmine, it says joined in. Jasmine, if you, oh, okay, Jasmine seems to be here. Jasmine, you need to click on the microphone and the camera on the top of the screen to activate them. Okay, we see you. Hi. Can you say something?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, the sound is perfect.
Okay.
Did you have any difficulties joining in?
Internet Explorer does not work. I had to reopen through Google Chrome, and while you were talking about changing the video, it prompted me on the top of the screen that I needed to allow the extension to download.
Right.
Once I did that, then it prompted another screen to do it again, and then the 3 tests that you mentioned.
Right. And other reasons, so you said Internet Explorer didn't work, so you had to use Chrome.
Yes.
I also noticed that the interface is slightly different in Mozilla Firefox. So again, those of you who are having difficulties even with Chrome, maybe try Mozilla, or I'm not sure how it's going to work with Safari. Hopefully there will be no problems. Another thing, what could be blocking you if you have ad blocker. So if you have ad blocker on your computer, let me see if I will be able to share my screen and show you what I mean. So some of us have an installed plugin on the browser that looks something like this, I guess, yeah. So Sharon, so anyway, there is a little, icon there that says APB or something like that. And if you have one of those, it may be one of those things that blocks your access to the webinar. I don't like that there are so many restrictions, and ideally we want something where people just click on the link and they're in. But it is what it is, and as I said, we've tried several, and it seems like none of them is perfect, at least so far. But anyway, Jasmine, why don't you introduce yourself, since we have this rare opportunity to see your face? Tell us who you are, and we'll move on to the business questions afterwards.
Okay, you can hear me. I had turned off the mic because I didn't want the background sound. We're good, right? Okay, yeah, perfect. Well, hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Jasmine Campos, and I have participated in X-Culture 3 times. I had the amazing opportunity to be at the first Global Symposium in Miami, as well as in DC. And I'm gone. Okay, there you go. I'm back on. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yep, perfect. Yep. And pretty much, as I had mentioned to Dr. Taras before, I heard about X-Culture Kids, and before he even asked me if I wanted to participate, I wanted in. I want to be part of this amazing venture that we're about to embark on and make a difference in the world. And I'm a very passionate person. I like to get involved in things that are going to make a difference. If it doesn't make a difference around everyone, at least around me. So I'm all in it. I know you mentioned about the contract, and one of the things that, and I mentioned to you before, I don't do that for the money. I don't do it for the compensation. My biggest reward is actually making a difference. And if we're able to do it, and I will give it all to make this a success, because I feel the passion that you have. And just like that email that you sent out, I believe was yesterday, why do you keep doing this? Why do you stay up late at night? Why do you work on the weekends? It's all about what can you do to make this a better place. And you had me in when you said that. So,
well, thank you for saying that. And we'll talk a little bit more about the compensation issues. Yes, if you are in this to make money, probably at least initially it will be hard to do so. Though we will see how it goes. But it is my not only goal, but I recognize this as a business necessity to be able to offer you fair compensation, because many of you will be spending a lot of time on this. Many of you are in this to hopefully turn it into a full-time job and a career. And hopefully if we continue developing at the pace that we've been developing so far, it will be an opportunity and a possibility. And obviously we cannot do it for free. So while I cannot offer you much right away, it is obviously the goal and the plan, and as I said, the business necessity to make it so that you don't have to worry about the money. At least you know that you're getting here as much as you would elsewhere, so you don't have to look at other jobs while doing this one. So we'll see how it goes. It's a startup. Nobody can promise anything, but that is, as I said, the goal. All right, thank you so much, Jasmine. So I'm not sure about the other guys. I see that we have Anisha here and Estefania and Noha and Rimas and Ian and a few other people. So if you want to talk, you can, as I said, raise your hand. I'll try to join you or add you to the conversation, and hopefully it will work. For now, let me talk a little bit about where we are with this project and so what we're trying to do here. So it's been 7 years for Xculture as the big project. It's been probably 3-4 years since non-student adults were allowed to participate. And even though we have never advertised the non-student option, but when people came and asked to participate, we would allow them to do so. And so we kind of have a little experience with non-student participants, and honestly, we just manage them just like regular students, and so no problems there at all. And then it's been about a year since the idea for Xculture Kids, as we call it, came up. We started working on it hard about close to a year ago. We tried to do a test run in the spring and even told professors that they can apply, and quite a few people did apply. But we didn't do a full test run in the spring just because the timing, we were not wise enough to make it concurrent with the actual Xculture. So we put it at a different time for only 1 month. And so we put that 1 month at the last month of the Xculture project. That my dog or somebody's howling there. And it just turned out to be the busiest time of the year, and we didn't feel like we can offer those kids a good opportunity. So we basically told them, wait a little bit, we will do it again a little later. And so now we're trying to do that. And so at that time, what we were able to determine is that there is demand. So that's, that's the important thing. Now, as I said, we are moving on to actually trying to make it happen. So what we've done in the last several months, and especially the last several weeks, busy times. So first, we have now created finally a page, web page, landing page for this program specifically. In fact, let me try to show it to you. Took us quite a few iterations, but eventually it seems like it's working. And so let me see if it's going to work. So if I go here and go to Xculture Academy, if it doesn't work, if the screen is not being shared, so you can just go to Xculture Academy, xculture.org/academy, and you will see the page. So we dedicated one page specifically to the Academy, as we call it now. I'll explain in a few minutes why we chose Academy and not Kids. And so here we have basically, what it is, how it works, the benefits for the teachers and the benefits for the children, and the benefits, how it works, and then the actual program, so the kind of schedule, and then the dates, and we even put here how much time is left to enroll. And we even counted, so we already started getting applications from the students. And so since we have about 5,000 places total, so we even put, some little countdown timer, so that people know how much time they have and that the spots are running out, and the pricing. And so we'll talk about that in a second. And then obviously people can apply. So we have some testimonials, and then people can apply here. So let me stop sharing this stuff. And so let me, go back to my camera. Oh, our Rimas is here. Wonderful. So web page is almost ready. It is ready. The only thing that we still want to do is we have several templates, and our program allows us to do what they call split testing. So we're going to have several designs, and we will set the system in a way that it will randomly show people one design or another. And then we will see if so-called conversion rate, if people, when they go to those different designs, if they sign up at the same rate or different rate, and if one design is promoting or working better at converting people and enrolling them. So, but that will come in the next few days, so that's a little bit less important. Rimas, do you want to introduce yourself so we know who you are? I think your microphone may be muted. We don't hear you. Jasmine, do you hear our Rimas?
Sorry, I turned mine off so that you wouldn't get my sound, but I don't hear him.
Yeah, I wonder if
the microphone on the top, Arima, that you have to click on.
It seems like his microphone is activated. I see that it's activated, but I wonder if it could be again some sort of a hardware issue. Maybe it's choosing a wrong microphone or something. No, we don't hear you for some reason. Maybe if you want to try again, I think at the time when you were able to set up and test the sound, first you had to hear yourself, and second, it gave you options to choose the microphone. And if your system may have like multiple microphones somewhere, maybe it activated a wrong one. So if you want to maybe exit and then re-enter, and then we'll try again. But anyway, so we have the page. Second, we have handout materials. So we created a few different versions of the materials that you can print. In fact, we even printed some of them already. So we have some proactive people in Ukraine who were eager to start talking to people about the program. So they already printed a few hundred copies and started distributing them at some meetings. And so we should have the final version of the of the handout, if not today, then tomorrow. And so we're creating, as I said, several different versions. And so this way you will be able to choose the one that works for you better at your location. The differences, first and foremost, would be in the paper size. So we will have so-called letter size, the American size, and we will have the European or global A4. But then also there will be slight differences in the design itself. And so you will be able to choose the ones that you want. And so we will pay for the print. I thought about ordering the print here in the United States and then shipping it to you. But the problem here is that the shipment will probably be more expensive than the print. And then not to mention that it may take a week or 2 or 3 to arrive. And then on top of that, something can get lost. So it's probably much more efficient for you just to print it locally. And then you can either send me the payment link or invoice, and I will pay directly to the print shop. Or if you want to handle it differently, just pay, and we will compensate that in your, basically add it to your salary. That is fine too. Just to give you a kind of estimate of what these things cost, anywhere between $20 to $100, depending on how much you print and depending on what country you're in. So here in the United States, they usually come up to about like 3, 4, 5 cents a piece. So for $20, $30, you can print literally a few hundred. In Ukraine, it was cheaper. I imagine maybe in some countries it may be more expensive. I don't know, but it shouldn't be too expensive. So it should be in tens of dollars. So not a big, huge amount of money. Then another thing we're preparing for you now is a parent's handbook, a teacher's handbook, and then additional materials that you may use when you approach, for example, a school or an organization, such as a template of a letter that you can send out, and maybe even some sort of I don't want to call it a script, but a list of commonly asked questions, and then maybe suggested answers that you perhaps can use to answer some of those questions. And the goal with the latter one is to have like a database of commonly asked questions and topics. And so we can collectively share our own so that others know what people ask, and then maybe even share some suggested answers for those questions so that we can collectively, basically think about what the best way to do it is. So Remus is back. Can you say something now? Now your microphone is muted. Now it's activated. And we still don't hear you. Huh. Microphone is showing up as muted, so maybe try to activate it one more time. But yeah, to my disappointment, no. It seems like Webinar Gem is not our program either. So next time we'll try Zoom, and I have that already. So, and then if that doesn't work, as I said, we'll try GoToMeeting. And if that doesn't work, we'll go back to YouTube Live. That one definitely works. As I said, it just doesn't have some functions we'd like to have, but I guess we don't really have many choices. So, yeah, no idea why it's not working. Well, let's see, maybe it will start working. So anyway, and then back to the handbooks, just like we have an instructor's handbook for the university program. It's a long and boring document, but if people want to find answers and see all the details of the program, that's where they go. And so it contains the wisdom of all the things that have happened in 7 years. And so professors can literally use it as a handbook and find all those answers. And so the goal is to have the same thing for teachers in school, and then for parents, so once they get involved, so that they can have like a little manual how to manage their kids in this program. Maybe since for the children we need to be a little bit more fun, I guess, maybe we'll also work a little bit more on the design to make it a little more entertaining and more easy to read. But that's what we're trying to work on now. Then the last piece of materials that we're trying to prepare now is whiteboard animation. As you know, when you go to Xculture's website, we have those cartoons that explain what Xculture is. And so we're now trying to create the same thing for Xculture Kids or Academy, and we'll talk about the name again in a second. The challenge, and that's one of the strategy questions I wanted to discuss with you. The big challenge with this program is that it's a very unique product. It's a very unique proposition. And when you will talk to prospective participants, or when we try to do some advertisement online, for example, on Facebook, we know that in most cases we can grab somebody's attention for just a few seconds. When people are scrolling on their Facebook and see an ad, as I said, a second, maybe 2, 3 at best, that we can get their attention before they decide to move on. And so the problem with our program is that it's very unusual. You can't just say Xculture, or we don't even know what to call it. Like, for example, if we had a private school, we would put a picture of a happy child or children, and we would say private school, Xculture, and people would know instantly what that is. And if they are looking for a private school for their kids, they would click and read and know what we're talking about. In fact, many people would even be looking for private schools proactively, so they would be searching it on Google. Likewise, if we had like a summer camp or an online course, people know what those are. What is Xculture? How do you explain that in 2 seconds? I don't know. So how do you say that we take your children, put them in global virtual teams? And global virtual teams, those are the things where each child is in a different country, and they work virtually, so they don't have to fly to the United States, and they will have to speak in English, and they will be solving problems for real companies. Like, it's at least 5, 6 things that need some explanation, and it seems to me at least 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds before people start understanding. And so the hope is that a video, a cartoon, will hold that attention for those 10, 15 seconds, because cartoons are easier to watch than read boring text. And so my hope is that that will help us. And so where we are with that is I placed an ad on Upwork. Quite a few people applied and said they can do the job. I selected one woman from Romania. She has a wonderful portfolio, seems to be very capable. Now she's waiting from us for a script. And I also found one person here in Greensboro who is a voice actor, so he can talk. So he'll do so-called voice over. So he will read the text and then the graphics. So hopefully we'll have that ready in a few days. The challenge there is the script. I'll be honest with you, when I had to write the script for, so I've done 6 or 7 of those videos. When I did it for Xculture, I literally just told my story. So there was a professor who didn't know how to, illustrate to the students the things that he's discussing in the classroom. So he created this project, and this is how it works. And so that's easy. Or when we have, for example, a video for businesses, why they should join us as a client, same thing. There was this businessman, Peter, whatever the name, his business was not doing so well. He didn't know where else he can go. He didn't have the resources to do the market research. Then he heard about Xculture. Thousands of students from all around the world did research for him. And, the story of, a regular businessman. With the parents and the teachers, I can't come with a nice, simple story. I suppose we can say, hi, this is John Smith. John has a son. His son is 17 or 15. He will be going to college, but he's not sure if he's going to be admitted to good colleges. And I suppose we can go that way. And so he's looking for some extracurricular activities that teach you something beyond what the book can give you. And so he enrolls the student in Xculture, and the student has a lot of fun, meets people around the world, and then eventually strengthens his resume and meets some professors. I suppose that would be a good story, but I still need to work a little bit on that. And so what I'm trying to say here is, if you guys have some suggestions for a cartoon like that, so like 2-minute story or so, let me know. So maybe we'll do a video like that, as I said, one for teachers, one for parents, perhaps. And so with that, I think we'll have pretty much everything we need to have in place. So we already have the application form. We already have the page. I guess we have just to work out some little details, and we should be able to go ahead. Now, if you have any questions, Samuel says that he can see me and he can see Jasmine, but he cannot go live. And yes, from what I understand, the system is not as simple as they promised it would be. Estefania has a question about printed materials. Wonderful question. So she's asking if they will be available in different languages. If we need to have them in different languages, the answer is yes. We have a template and we can easily translate the text. The copies that were printed in Ukraine, they actually printed them in Ukrainian. And so the big challenge we have is that the project itself will be in English, and the children are probably ready to work in English. In fact, well, first, it's a condition. Second, they probably have English in school, so for them, it's not a big problem. But ironically, the people who make the decisions, the bosses, the parents, the teachers, they in many cases may not be fluent in English. And so we have this strange situation where the client is somebody, but the decision maker is somebody else. And the decision makers may need to be communicated with in their local language. And so for that reason, yes, if you can translate it into your local language, we will easily work with the graphic designer to change the text and align everything, and we'll have it for you in any language you want. So absolutely, and probably we'll have we will need to do that. I suppose English may be suitable enough in, I know in Europe, probably most, at least progressive people speak English. I assume in much of Africa, English is the official language. India, obviously the English-speaking countries like Australia, India, the UK shouldn't be a problem. But once you get somewhere else, it may be necessary to go with a different language. All right, so now let me address, let's go to your contracts. And if you have any questions, those of you who are here, you can talk. And those who want to talk, raise your hand, we'll add you. And those who cannot talk or can, you'll have to type. Of all the people, Aurimas seems like he has something to say. I wonder if you can maybe call me on the phone, or I can call you on the phone and I can put you on the speaker. That may be an option. The only thing is I don't have my phone with you. But anyway, type your question. I should be able to see it in the window there. Terms of employment. First of all, as I said, one more time, my apology for typos and problems in the document itself. I'm not a native speaker of English, and if you see any typos, send them to me, I'll correct them. One that we know is an error is I put there December 2018 instead of December 2017. Obviously an error, and I'll fix it. One question, and really the only question that came up so far in the previous session, was the payment. And so here's what I have to say about it. So as you know, the final warning was that there will be a base salary of $200, and it will be contingent upon your ability to recruit some participants, plus the commission and plus the business expenses. And commission and business expenses seem to be easy. Business expenses, obviously, if you have to spend anything on travel, on printing, on anything else, let me know and we'll cover that, no question asked. The only thing I would ask you to let us upfront know what you want to do. So, for example, if you want to print the pamphlets, no question, no problem at all, unless obviously, again, the price is so high that it's cheaper to print it in the United States and ship it to you. If you want to travel within the city or nearby locations, no problem at all. If it's something bigger, like, for example, you want to advertise on Facebook or YouTube, let me know. We'll have to discuss. It may be easier and cheaper to do it from our account. And so you'll just tell us what audience you want to target and what ad you want to use, and we will place it for you. But again, we'll have to take a look and decide what's the most efficient way to do it. If you want to go to a conference and talk about the project, again, the registration fee can be in hundreds of dollars, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to afford all of that. So we'll have to take a look and see what specifically you have in mind and if we can afford it. And as long as it's reasonable and it seems like it will make economic sense, we will cover that. The aftermarket commission, 20%, nobody knows what the percent should be. Some people said 10, some people said 30. We had to come up with a number, and 20 seems like a good number just to try. And then maybe over time we'll either increase it or decrease it. If it goes well, which I hope it will, like permanent offices in different countries, and you will have to rent some space, like a physical space, either on a permanent basis or for like meetings of parents or something like that, maybe we will then use more of the, increase the percentage so you can cover those expenses locally. For now, 20 just seems like a good number, and I don't see why another number would be better, smaller or higher. So let's go with that. So that seems like a good one. The base salary, that's where some questions, came up. And I've heard from you guys, and I've spoken to many of you individually, other professors and my external colleagues, all kinds of suggestions. Many people, and in fact, the initial idea was that there should be no base salary. The concern was that there will be many people, students who sign up thinking it's a good idea, then they disappear, and we end up spending a lot of money for nothing. Then there were, on the other hand, suggestions that no, it has to be unconditional, whatever the amount is, 200, 500, 100, it has to be guaranteed no matter what. And we should advance a certain level of trust that people will try their best, and even if it doesn't work, they still should get paid. And then anything in between. So there should be like a minimum requirement. And I believe the first time we started talking about that, we said 50 enrollments per month. And eventually I decided to go with a compromise that imposes a very, very low minimum requirement. So we said 5 people or 5 enrollments per month. And the reason, the logic for that is this. It's not that I don't, in fact, I do trust that all of you will try hard. But for example, the numbers I see so far are the following. So there were about 220 people who applied for this position. From those, we selected about 45, 50, and I said, you look very good on paper. I look at your performance records and you look good. And your next step is to send me the job sample. And I was very honest about the job sample. It's not that much that I want to hear your answers. I want to see if when the time comes to actually do something, that you will find that hour to record your video, to send it to me. So I basically wanted to see if people are, willing and ready to make those extra steps. And only 30 people did so. So we lost about 50% of the initial pool right there. And I don't know, maybe people got sick, or maybe something happened in their life and they will get back on track in a few days, weeks. But at least for now, we have a few people who dropped out once something needs to be done. I'd like to believe that the 30 people who did go through the process will also continue and will try hard. But again, I will not be surprised if there will be some who will also just not do much. And the reason for that can be not that they're lazy, but they may not feel comfortable doing this, or they may be very busy at work, another job that they may have, or maybe in school. And so for whatever, reasonable reasons, they may just simply not do much. And so I thought I would impose a very, very low requirement. So it seems to me that 5, as long as you talk to a few friends, it's a very easy target to meet. And at the same time, if you can't do even that, then the question becomes, so we're talking here about selection essentially. So it's not so much about performance, we're talking about selection. Because again, another trade-off we have to deal with is how many regional directors do we want to have? Some of my colleagues and some of you said, well, take as many as possible. Anyone who expresses interest, take them. Because what do you have to lose? If they don't do anything, you don't pay them anything, but maybe they'll do something. But there is a cost to that. The cost is, one, it takes time to coordinate a large team. Each of you will have questions. Each of you will want to talk sometimes, and that takes time. And if we have, let's say, 100 people, and some of them are not doing anything, just taking time, that is not even that I don't want to spend time on people. It just, in this, initial stages, time is so precious, so valuable, that we can't really spend it on people who may not necessarily be, good for this job. So it's rather, I'd rather have them not have them on the team than have them on the team and, allow them to waste everybody's time. Second is the perceptions of justice and fairness. It's an extremely important issue. So people, there are apparently 2 things that really motivate us in life. One is what our peers will think about us, so basically social proof, and 2, is it fair? And we get very, very upset and demotivated when something is unfair. And if we have slackers on the team, I'm very worried that the good people will say, well, he's not doing anything and, he's being paid, why should I? And so therefore, again, I kind of want to get rid of those people potentially, so that they don't kind of undermine the morale of the team. So we want to have only, really, really strong individuals on the team. And so my logic here is that if we impose a very, very little requirement, as long as you try, you should be able to meet it. And at the same time, if there is someone who can't meet even that one, I think it would be in the interest of this project, of this team, to kick them out and, not have them here. And so for that reason, I impose that restriction. I will be honest with you. And again, if we can kind of mute my microphone now and not keep it on the record. The truth is, yes, I will take a closer look at each case individually. Let's say we have someone whom we know did a lot of work, whom we know, tried hard, and it just happens to be maybe a location where this idea doesn't work as easily, or maybe something else. We'll find a way to keep you happy. As long as there is evidence that you are, honestly trying. I don't want to make any, automatic promises, but yes, we will make everything possible to make you happy. But at the same time, if the evidence is there that maybe it's not working for you, then, we can't, spend precious resources on someone like that. So that's the idea. And then finally, again, going back to the selection idea, we don't want people who want to be subordinate employees. So if you want to work in a job where you show up at 8, do whatever you're told to do and go home at 5, it's a reasonable expectation and request, but it's not even that I believe that it's bad. It's not something I can offer you in the startup. Maybe in a year when everything works, when we start hiring people who will be working under you, whose job will be to do specific tasks at a specific schedule. Maybe at that time we will be hiring people like that. But for now, I need partners. I need people who are willing to take maybe some risk, who are willing to try new things. And then people who will hopefully, assume more prominent positions in this organization, both as managers of local offices, but also maybe as managers of this very program, as well as programs, other programs that we may have. Jasmine, did you lose me? You said something? Oh, okay, all right. So my logic here also with this minimum requirement, just to close that topic once and for all, is that since you will be compensated for all the expenses that you will incur, the only thing you can lose is time. And I think it would be fair because, we also all have put a lot of time in it, preparing all these materials and testing the program and doing things. So if somebody, ends up spending a few initial weeks and trying, doing things and not getting the results, we will still compensate for your time and for your expenses. So this way you will only lose the time that you put on the kind of table, invested and tried, and if it doesn't work, that's all you lose. So I think that should be fair. So I'm going to close it here, this topic. If you want to talk about it more, contact me individually, but I thought I would be completely honest and transparent about the logic behind this decision, and we will come back to it sometime in a month or two once we know better how it works. So yes. Jasmine, you say you were able to connect with Aurimas, meaning that you can talk to him? And Aurimas, can you say something?
Hold on. Ooh, hold on.
Can you hear me? Now I cannot hear that. I can hear myself. Best I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, I muted my microphone, so I can hear you now. Is it going through the phone or is it going through the...
Yes, I am on the phone with Jasmine.
Well, that's the spirit. That's how it's done in startups, right? 2 chairs, 5 people, and the kind of technology that works like this, but it works. Well, why don't you try to introduce yourself then?
This is the most direct way to start the project.
So why don't you try to introduce yourself then?
Okay, guys. Hello, my name is Aurimas.
Let me mute my microphone.
Okay, so I'm Aurimas, I'm from Lithuania, Baltic region, and apparently I'm executive director of this region. So, as I told you, this is the really innovative way to start the project. I graduated this coach 2016. I'm 30 years old.
Aurimas, now we're getting feedback, and I think the best way to do it is for you to mute your speaker as well, so that it doesn't go from the phone to the computer. Let's try this hack, and then we'll get back to the questions. And Samuel, I see your questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think you gotta lower the volume on your phone, on your computer.
So let's then put it off until the next meeting so we can have a proper introduction at that time. So as I said, we'll try Zoom. So it seems like this system has some problems here. Aurimas, can I eject you from this meeting? I think we have a limit of 3 people to see if anyone else can join us. And I just want to test if it's a problem unique to your computer or if we can have other people on the phone. But anyway, so if you want to talk or let's test, I encourage you to raise your hand. There is an icon there, raise hand. I will try to add you to our call, and then so let me put the microphone here, and then we will see what happens because as I said, I need to make the decision if we keep this system or not. I love the functionality, but it seems like it's not necessarily the best one for meetings. Other questions that we need to discuss. A very, very important issue, so I'll try to explain it to the best of my abilities, and I need your advice here. That is the question of pricing, and we will talk about the price in a minute as the price. But let me talk about some specific issue related to pricing. There was this wonderful idea that we should give incentives to people who bring friends. And the reason we would like people to bring friends, there are 4. One, first and foremost, when people bring friends, they will have a better experience in the project. Let's say, for example, I have a child who is 13 years old, and let's say I enroll him in the project. And then if I have an incentive to bring a friend, I'll go and talk to my neighbor. And I will say, you have a child who is also 13 years old. Do you want to participate in this project? And if they participate, all of a sudden we have this support group. All of a sudden my child, even though they are on different teams, my child has a friend and they can share experiences. They can tell what's going on in their teams. They can talk about the questions, for example, they're trying to come up with a marketing poster, for example. And so they can show each other what they have. They can criticize each other's work, so it will be much more fun. Same thing with parents. So they may have some concerns. They may have some observations. They just may want to have someone to talk to. And so when my friends participate, all of a sudden I have that friend and we can talk. Second, we want more enrollments, right? So, and especially initially, we would like more people just so we have that critical mass. And so if we give people an incentive to bring friends, hopefully that will allow us to have more people, who participate. So purely, kind of marketing topic. Third, we would like to build a community. So we would like to have local communities that will be bigger than just this one individual project. And so when we allow people to bring friends or encourage them to bring friends, so that neighbor of mine, maybe I only saw him or her, once a month and never really talked. Now all of a sudden we have something in common. Now all of a sudden we can do some other things. Maybe we'll organize a round table around modern education topics. Maybe we will start a whole new program. Maybe we'll decide to host a local conference. So you have that community, and so bringing friends is the best way to go. Yes, Jasmine, activate your microphone though.
Actually, one of the things that was recommended by someone that I mentioned, I think I told you that I went to my professor's class and I kind of explained to them my experience. And one of the things that came up was there's so many clubs at the schools. I mean, I know we can create a community, but even within the schools, one of the strategies that one of the students suggested was to start an ex-culture clubs at the school.
Right.
So that actually creates a community, and then that takes it beyond just the students. The parents get involved, and just like you say, grow it from there. But one of the startup ways was to actually get the club started at the school. So that's one of the ways that I'm gonna start working on.
Right.
Talking to a guidance counselor so that tell them about what its culture is and how they can incorporate that as one of the school clubs. If we're not able to get teachers to incorporate it into the curriculum, we can at least get the kids involved and make it an after-school program.
Yeah, exactly. And so initially, and by the way, so Noha, Samuel, Ian, I see your questions. I'll address them in a second. Let me just finish this issue here. So yes, when X-Culture was launched initially, all I wanted to do was to create a kind of experiential exercise for my students. I never ever thought that it would lead to anything more. But even now already we have a bunch of other programs. We have, for example, the X-Culture Symposium that became almost an independent event. And so we have a person who manages that. We have the coaching program that is, again, it's not independent, but it's a whole different structure. We have this Xculture Academy that, again, is a whole different structure. Who knows what else will come from this? As I said, it can lead to all kinds of clubs and activities and businesses and all stuff. So we want to have that community, because many things that come out of this will be very different from what we're doing now. And so for you, it may become a business. For you, it may become your new job. So by allowing people bring friends, we sort of, encourage that community building. And as I said, the time will show what it will lead to. Now, let me get to my question, though. So we would like to provide incentives to bring friends, but I don't know how. So my initial idea was very simple. If you bring a friend, everybody gets a discount. For example, let's say, just to keep the numbers round, let's say, the base price is $195. But if you bring a friend, let's say it becomes $175 for both of you. So this way it gives you an incentive to bring a friend, because it gives you a discount, but also your friend may be happier to respond to that when he knows that the real price is such and such, but because he or she has been referred by a friend, they get a discount. I like this idea. It seems to be the best way to go forward. But what I don't like about it is I don't want to draw too much attention to money. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm always uncomfortable when it comes, to money. And maybe because this project was never envisioned to be, a for-profit, I kind of don't want to, raise that issue too much. And so once we start, dealing with the discounts and numbers, I don't know. I mean, I'd rather avoid it somehow. Especially it becomes complicated, we want people to bring more than one friend, bring 5 friends, bring 10 friends, why not? But then again, how do we provide incentives to do that? So would it be like $10 discount for each additional friend? So if you bring 20 friends, it's free. I mean, how do we do that? Or do we kind of limit it at some point? Again, it becomes too much numbers game. And I'm not sure, how to kind of give the incentive to bring as many friends as possible without making it too much about all those discounts. So for now, the working version is that if you bring a friend, both of you get some sort of like a benefit, but and probably a discount. Let's say, I don't know, 10 for each. But if we can think of some other way, maybe we can do it some other way. Like, for example, maybe bring a friend and both of you will get $175 instead of $195. Bring more than 2 friends and you'll get like a travel stipend to the conference, for example. Or maybe, something that is non-monetary. Or maybe you'll get, I don't know, if we were all in the same city, I would say, like coffee with the president or something like that. But we cannot offer that. So I guess, I don't know, maybe like you get a personal coach or you get I don't know. I mean, I wish to come up with some sort of ideas where it's not about financial incentives. But anyway, that's something where I need your help. Now, let me go to the questions that people ask here. So Samuel asked a very good question about the process. So how will it work? We use, at least initially, we want to use the same process that we use in Xculture, which is a 2-stage selection process. The way it works is the following. People first apply, and anybody can apply, and the application is linked directly to the page. Then applications are processed. Usually we try to do it once a day, sometimes once every few days, and we look at the applications and we evaluate them for suitability. So if everything's fine, we probably will accept the person. But again, if the application is not fully submitted, or if the age is not right, or if people provide answers that tell us that they're not serious about it, we can reject them at that stage. Assuming they are accepted, so they apply, the application gets reviewed, and if they are accepted, they receive an official acceptance letter, which says, congratulations, you are in the project. That's what your professors have received. Here is access to all the materials, and at the end, there is an invoice. Here is how much you need to pay, and here is a link to the payment. And they can pay online using credit card, debit card, PayPal, whatever other options, or they can make an electronic transfer, or they can send a check, so whatever works for them. And they have some time to pay, so we're usually not enforcing the timing too strictly. We know that when the schools especially have to pay, sometimes it may be a month or 2 before it goes through all the accounting. So I suppose here we'll impose some deadline, but again, we can be flexible about that. And then people enroll. So one more time, the process, the person learns about Xculture either from you or sees an ad somewhere, or maybe just accidentally finds us online, and so goes to the page, reads, likes, applies. We look at the application, we approve it, we send the acceptance letter, the person is happy, and the person basically enrolls and pays the enrollment and participates in the project. Remus, try again. Let's see if we can hear you now. No, we can't. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. So that's basically it. Now about the payment. So I hope that answers your question. About the payment, again, any form of payment is fine. And about the price, that's another strategic question that I have for you. And again, you can answer it in comments now or send me an email, or we will discuss it again next time, but think about this. So nobody knows what the price should be, but I was using my experience with the project. I talked to many of you. I talked to other colleagues, and eventually it seemed like for the individual participation, $195 seems like a good price. One interesting development that happened a few days ago, my wife sent me a link to a program called Duke Tip. Duke is the university. Duke, you probably know, it's one of the elite schools in the world, and it just happens to be located about an hour away from me. And so, as many schools, including my own university, they have like a pre-college college for children. In many cases, they call it for gifted children, and parents love it because everybody loves to know or feel that they have a gifted child. And so they would have some sort of like a selection test. And so when your child passes, they kind of officially declare your child gifted. Here in the United States, they even give you a bumper sticker, thing that you can put on your car. And so there are many parents around the town who proudly say, like proud parents of a Duke Tip child or something like that. So I'm not sure if all those children are really gifted, but parents love that idea. But anyway, in most cases, what those programs do, they offer summer school essentially. And so they charge outrageous amounts of money. And then presumably they say if your child participates in these summer schools, then when the child applies to the university, we will accept the child automatically, whatever. But interestingly, Duke has a program that is very similar to Xculture. It's designed for children, and it's virtual collaboration and virtual teams. They call it e-investigators. It's only 4 weeks. There is no international component, so all the children are from here, probably mainly from North Carolina or maybe from other states. And there are no clients, there is no cultural component, but there are challenges. Each challenge relates to a different profession, like, for example, doctor, firefighter, police officer, actor. And there would be different types of challenges related to those professions. Like for a doctor, you have several patients. Whom would you see first? Basically design it like triage system. Or if you're an actor, for example, decide where you want to, some general, generic, very simple question. But the children would work in global virtual teams for 4 weeks. I mean, not global, virtual teams. They're probably going to be all Americans or maybe even all North Carolinians. But for 4 weeks, they will be trying to solve the problem. And so they will even have, they call it a lead investigator, like a coach who will help them from time to time, and they will work on that. And so I learned about that program 3 days ago, and what encourages me a lot is that their price and pricing structure is exactly the same as ours. So they want $195, like exactly the same price, so which makes me feel good. So we must have guessed right. And they've been doing it for a while, so I assume they tested different price levels. And so that's good. And then second, they realize, just like we do, that different people cannot afford the same price. And so they had to come up with a discount system. And they did exactly what we do. So they have a separate form that you have to fill out, and basically, need-based. You have to say that my income level does not allow me to pay full price. And so here they would ask basically how much a family makes, and if it's below a certain level, you will get like a stipend. I believe they actually do call it a stipend, just like we do. And so you would pay only half price. So in our case, it would be the same thing. It would be if you come from a developing country where income level or GDP per capita is lower, we can offer you that more or less automatically, but we still want to make people apply first. Or likewise, in the United States, unfortunately, I don't know how it looks from the outside, but the truth is that even in the United States, there are some families who may not be able to afford $200 for a semester, and those children need our help more than anyone else. We want to give them this opportunity, to grow and to get in a good school, and so on and so on and so on. And so we want them. And so even if it means that they have to participate for nearly free or even for free, we want to give them that option. And so that's why we want to have that kind of apply for the stipend option. So that's the price. Now, individual, it seems to be fine. Schools, that's where it's a little trickier. And I have a question for you. So the initial idea was that we would charge $275 per class, regardless of the number of people. And then just like individuals, they can apply for a participation stipend, $150. And if they get it, they will pay only $125. And I was even open to the idea of letting schools participate for free if either the banking regulations do not allow them to transfer money overseas, which sometimes happens, or if they don't have the resources, or if they happen to come from Lithuania. Sorry, Aurimas, I'm not pointing fingers here, but one of the professors from there said that well, here in Northern Europe, education is free. And so while individual parents may be paying for some clubs for their children, schools, I mean, for them, like payment for some exercise, it's unthought of. And so there may be a good school, a good teacher, great children, they want to participate, but for them, it's just not part of their kind of culture to pay for education. And so if we have something like that, I suppose, why not? I mean, their participation will make experience better for everyone. They will learn something. So why not? But then there are exceptions. So I got a phone call yesterday. So we have one of our team members here, Laura. She's a Peace Corps volunteer in Uganda. And so she already got a few schools that expressed interest in participating. But the problem was the payment was too low. So she says those are private schools for mainly children of expatriates, children of businessmen, and they pay $25,000 per year in tuition for the school. And when she said that the price will be $275, they said, like, what, for a child? And she said, no, for the whole class. And they're like, oh, that must be some sort of a scam, so not serious. And so her question for me was, can I raise the price? Can I charge $700? And I thought, I guess, why not? But so that's where the challenge is. And so one of the suggestions that came up yesterday was that maybe we should increase the price for schools. Maybe the base price should be, let's say, $575, for example, or $700. And then they can still apply for the participation stipend, and the stipend will be just larger. So let's say, for example, we set the price at $575 for a class, but they can apply for a grant of, let's say, $300 or $400, maybe even $500. And so this way, it will look more prestigious. When they get the stipend, the grant, they will feel like they got a $500 grant. I mean, this is serious. And at the same time, those schools that can afford it, they will pay it, and so they will value it more. So I don't know. I mean, that's something I would like to ask you. And if you have any suggestions, as I said, either type it in the comments here or send me an email later on. And so that's one of the issues that we have. Jasmine, did you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I did the presentation, I don't know if you guys heard of Nova University. It's a private university. Oh, yes. They actually have a high school attached to the university. So the parents of that local area, I don't know if you guys heard of Boca Raton. That's like one of the most expensive cities in Palm Beach County. And one of the ladies was saying the same exact thing. She's like, you can bring this to the school, but that seems kind of cheap because the parents are already paying over $10,000 in tuition for their kids' high school. It's not even college tuition. So that was something that they come up. And I do agree that we might want to increase the price, and yet, low-income communities could apply for the stipend or grant.
Yeah. So the logic here is that, higher price sends the right signal, and, people value it more, people aspire it more. As long as we provide this stipend or grant participation option so that those who cannot afford it, legitimately cannot afford it, we want them anyway. So as I said, we're not in this to make money. And even if we were in this to make money, as I said, when there is a school that cannot afford it, either because it's a poor country or because the tradition is such, we want them to participate so that those who can afford it have a better experience too. But I don't know, maybe we should increase it for the schools. Send me your estimated, your suggested numbers, and we will see, we will try to finalize that number within the day or two. So that's another issue. Now, let me go back to the questions that we have. Ian asks about email addresses. Check your mailbox. You should have them already. And if you don't, you will have them within hours. I had a meeting with the IT guy this morning at about 8 a.m., so 2-3 hours ago. And so he has your email addresses, private email addresses, your names. And so you should be getting your xculture.org email addresses today. Your email addresses will be your first name dot last name at xculture.org. So, for example, jasmine.campus@xculture.org and so on and so on. So those should be ready any minute now. Same thing, by the way, with the business cards. I forgot to tell you that, yes, we have designed business cards. My graphic designer kind of said that what we had was not perfect, so they're now trying to give it a little facelift. But within a day or so, we will have the final design. Same thing. So you can order them locally. Normally, business cards, like for 100, you pay like $5 or $10. If you want to order more, it shouldn't be much more. So just find a local print shop, see who does it in your location, and either send us a link, we'll pay directly, or we will just send you the money to reimburse that expense. So we'll have that as well. So now another question from Samuel. So for the stipends, that's as I said. So Samuel asks about the stipends. I kind of answered that question, but we need to think about the process. So the process now is, I'll reiterate it one more time in a second, but tell me if you think it should be different. So the way it works now is people go to the website, read about or hear from you about the program. They like it, they come to the website, they click apply. In the application, they are asked all kinds of questions like age of the child, name of the child, contacts, all that stuff, and then the price is listed there. And then right there is a link. If you cannot afford this price, you can apply for a limited number of stipends, and it takes them to a separate different form or provides a link that they can copy and apply later. So they finalize the main application, then they proceed with the application for the stipend. It's a very simple form, nothing big. So basically the person has to declare officially that they cannot afford it and maybe provide a little explanation why. And then we will look at those together. And before we send the acceptance letter, we will say, okay, you applied for the stipend. You have been approved. Congratulations. This is your stipend. It will be applied directly to your payment. So therefore, you only have to pay this much, what is left. Or as I said, in exceptional cases, it may be even less. Going back to prices and going back to the stipends, as I said, I would like to leave that question with you ultimately. So we will have a fixed global price. But if for any reason you believe that in your location it should be different, we will create a clone page for you specifically, give you that link, and that will be the link that you will share with the people. So this way, that's what they will see. And or if it's, if it's going up, if it's going down, you can just tell them, when you go to the page, you will see that the price is such and such, but I have a special arrangement. I can give you a discount. So don't worry, when you will be applying, you will say, you spoke with me and I allowed you to get a discount. And as long as we see that, as long as it's approved by you, we will leave those decisions up to you. You know your clients, you know your location better. So I don't think I should be making those decisions. We probably want to keep it simple. We probably want to keep it standard. But again, if you see a need to adjust, by all means, it's your choice. There is a very interesting question from Noha about how do we know basically who gets the commission. I'll try to keep it simple. If let's say, for example, our REMAS works in the Baltic region and we have someone from that region, it's automatically our REMAS's client. We assume that. To be sure, we will have in the application a question, how did you hear about the program? And if the person says, I attended a workshop, I spoke to this person, I saw an ad, whatever you did, that only reinforces, and we know, yes, we know our REMAS did this, and so no problem there. If the question or answer is, I was Googling online looking for a program for my child and I stumbled upon your webpage, maybe in that case we will assume that it was something that, even though the person is from that area, but so in that case I guess we can maybe ask the person one more time, just so you didn't speak to anyone, so just so we know. If in doubt, if it's not easy to right away figure out who brought the person, we just assume from that region it must be that person's work. The challenge and task is that we have some regions that are represented by multiple team members. So we have Ghana, where we have, I believe, 5 people. We have Pakistan, where we have, I believe, 3 people. And we have the United States. The United States is easier. We have different states, and I don't think we have 2 people from the same state. So if it's like Florida, for example, we know that it's, for example, Jasmine. If it's, let's say, Boston, we know that it's Jessica. So that's easier. But what if it's the same city where we have several people? In that case, again, there will be a question where people can provide literally the name of the person they spoke to. And so that should resolve it. But if we can't find easily, we'll have to think about how to do it. So we can either just send it to the whole team and let them decide, or as I said, we can reach out to the person and ask who specifically the person spoke to, or maybe even, and I don't want to do it with everyone just because we don't want to keep it, we want to keep it simple, but maybe each one of you can have, either your name or some sort of a code that you give to the people. The problem I don't like the code or name is because people may forget. the name. So they may not remember the code you gave them, or they may not even remember your name. And so for that reason, I'd want to get into this. So I just go by geography, and only when it's not clear, maybe reach out to the person and ask for clarification. So, but again, if you have ideas and suggestions for what's the best way to track who brought whom without making it too complicated, let me know. So my hope is that question, how did you learn about the program, with some multiple choice questions and maybe a window to explain other. Hopefully that will allow us to capture accurately enough, who spoke to the person. But I recognize it may not be as easy. So if you have ideas for improvement, let me know. All right. So do we have anything else? Estefania. Oh yes, Estefania is asking about the discussion boards. I actually wanted to create a Facebook closed group, mainly because most of you are already using Facebook and it seems to be good enough in terms of functionality, simple. But if it turns out that it will not be sufficient, if we at some point want to share too many, documents and stuff, and we cannot simply use Dropbox and Facebook, for example, maybe we'll just get an account like Basecamp or Trello or Slack. If you have any strong suggestions, like if you don't care, that's fine, we'll just go with Facebook. But if you know why Facebook is a bad idea and you strongly believe that there is a better option, let me know. So I'll give it another day to decide, but then yes, we'll have a discussion group where we can share ideas and experiences and maybe ask questions. And if you want to create your regional closed group and only discuss issues related to, for example, Latin America or Europe or Africa, totally fine by me, so no problem at all. So, and yes, Estefania again asks about the email. Well, you can use whichever email you want. We will have an email at xculture.org for you in case you want to look a little bit more kind of official. But obviously, if you want to keep using your private email, no problem at all. So my only concern is that, when somebody comes and says, I represent this great organization and my email is loveguy123@hotmail.com, then it sounds a little, unprofessional. So from that perspective, it may be better to have something, yeah. But other than that, it's up to you, and whatever you think is more suitable is better. All right, so I think I've come, exhausted all my issues. So pricing, bring a friend, script for the whiteboard video animation. I think those are kind of the discussion group, emails. If you have any other questions, so type them or try to join us and talk, and let's see what happens. Can I ask, while we still have a few minutes and while you're thinking about the questions, so can I still eject Aurima since his sound doesn't work, and ask, so Estefania and Samuel, you said you're on the phone. Can you still try to join us? Again, as I said, I need to know if this system is good enough or if I need to try the next one. So let me free up one spot because we have only 2 people who can speak at the same time. And in fact, Jasmine, did you want to say anything else? Are we done with you? Okay, you think so? Yeah, the sound was not there, but I could read your lips. So let me back to you as well. And so this way we have 2 more spots. So if you guys want to try, Ian, anyone else, if you want to try to talk, let's see if it's going to work. Ian has been here all this time, but for some reason it's not allowing him to join. Samuel, Noha, Estefania, if you guys want to try to join us, and I'm not sure who else is here because it shows that there are 8 people watching. So those are the people who are, yeah. Okay, let's see if it's going to work. So Jasmine, did you try again? All right, let's do it again. But it seems like it works for Jasmine. So let's see who else, maybe. As I said, I just want to know if this thing actually works. So, because it shows full signal, everything seems to work on my end, but it looks like it's not the best system for discussions. Anyway, all right, so any other questions, put them in. Yeah, Jasmine is back here, so it seems like it's working well for her. So it seems like she has no problems getting in and out of the conference room.
Sorry, I'm back. Arima messaged me and I didn't get the message fast enough before I got out. He wants to know, do we have an evaluation system for the XKids project?
Yeah, yes, actually, this is an excellent question. Thank you, Aurima. So there will be several evaluations that we will be doing. First of all, obviously, we will be evaluating performance of the children, both for research purposes, but also probably more importantly, there will be weekly progress surveys, just like we do with the adults, so we can spot problems. So if there is anyone who may be experiencing difficulties, we want to know about that right away so we can provide help. So we can assign a coach, or maybe a teacher can talk to the child for sure. Same thing with you guys. So I already created the form. I will send it out to you shortly. It will have two things. One, you will be asked every week, what have you done, and basically describe your experiences. So what have you tried to do? How did it go? Is everything fine? Are you happy? Do you have any concerns? I want to know about your kind of past week. And also it will ask you to provide your plans for the next week. Again, mainly so we can monitor what's going on, kind of trying to understand the experiences and what's going on your end, so we can basically better plan how this can be run in the future. And so there will be a very simple evaluation system for you. And as I said, when it comes to evaluating you, I'd like to give you as much autonomy as possible. I'd like you to literally allow you to manage it as if it's an independent company, so that you are a director, not a subordinate. If you think there are better ways to do things, everybody, I tell you one thing, somebody tells you another thing, but you think it should be something else, you should have the authority, the autonomy to do it differently, at least in these initial stages when we're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. So when we say evaluate your performance, obviously we will look at the actual results that matter most in this first month or two, which is enrollments. Obviously, I will keep an eye on what you've been trying to do, but there will be no incentives for that. So please don't give me, exaggerated numbers. Tell exactly what's going on, because if you tell me that you created, ran 10 conferences and met with 1,000 people, it may look impressive, but it will not help you. And as I said, I don't want to see exaggerated numbers. So it's very important for us to truly understand how it is being you. And so just, say exactly what it is, so that, if you find it difficult to meet many people, for example, that's great. That's fine. We need to know that. So maybe we'll in the future plan more online advertisement. If you, for example, wanted to organize a local event and ran into problems and couldn't, again, that's fine. We need to know. Maybe we'll know that it's very difficult to do. Maybe it's not worth the time. So that will be sort of, evaluation, I guess. So in the initial stages, I don't want to do too much evaluation. I want to try many things. And so I encourage you to try this, that, and this, and see if it works. If it doesn't, that's fine. At least we have given it a try and we'll know. Yes, Jasmine. Microphone.
Sorry, I apologize. Okay, so he mentioned that the question that he was trying to make was the evaluation system for the class, the teachers, about the success and not the young students participating in the project.
That's a very good one. Yes, we do the same. Yes. And one more yes. We do the same thing with professors in Xculture. We look at success of the students and basically attribute it to the success of the professors or performance of the professor. And so every week I have literally a ranking of the professors, and I know who does better than others, and so on and so on. And in the end, we even select the best professors. So we look whose students did the best job, and we give them literally like the global educator, best professor, something certificate. We even put their pictures and bios on our website, because for professors, it's important. They may be applying for jobs in the future, and they might want to say that, compared to other teachers globally, I was actually better, or my students did a better job, or maybe they want to brag about that to the parents of the children. So definitely, yes. So we will be tracking performance of the students as far as peer evaluations, quality of the reports they do, motivation, all that stuff. And so obviously professors whose children will be more satisfied will do a better job, will get higher peer evaluations, will do better on the tests. Obviously, we will prominently display that on the webpage so that the professors can be proud of their achievements. And as I said, that may help them in the future career. The parents will be happy to know that this class does better than others. So definitely so. Yes.
Sorry. The other thing, and I know that you and I have talked about it several times, about the International Baccalaureate. I really think this will be a really good venue. So if any of you guys are part of those countries that participate in the International Baccalaureate, try to get involved. I'm actually, my sister's coordinating a meeting with the IB coordinator at the local high school. And what I think will work, and like I mentioned to you, maybe right now it's a smaller scale, but if we were able to get a few schools that have IB, get a teacher or coordinator or someone involved, create a club or something, and then we actually have numbers that actually prove that this program works and it will help the curriculum. I'm piggybacking on what Irima said. How can we make this a countrywide or a system-wide, if we can get International Baccalaureate on board, there are 100 countries. They have five corporate offices, so they're already worldwide. So if we're able to get into those schools, and then next year actually show them, hey, by the way, 6 or 7 schools in these countries participated, and this was their success rate, we can actually have that incorporated through their program worldwide.
Yeah. That's the thinking we want. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly, I'm totally with you. Honestly, I would have not thought about it myself. So yes, that's exactly the type of, kind of developments we want. A similar idea, by the way, Jasmine, came from Sherry Andre, who is a professor at Johnson & Wales University, there also in Florida. She pointed out that in the United States, at least, there is this whole, movement, institution, whatever you want to call it, homeschooling. So I don't know how it works in other countries, but in the United States, there are some families that homeschool their kids. So basically, children don't go to school, they study from home. Sometimes it could be due to them special needs. Maybe, the child has some disability and cannot go to school. Sometimes it's very smart kids. They literally go like 2 classes in a year, sometimes even 3 in a year. So you can take the tests at whatever pace you want, and as long as you study, so it may be better option for you. And sometimes it just there are some people who are so distrustful of the government that they believe that children should be taught at home and not by the public schools. And so that's fine either way. But anyway, what she found, and she sent me, turns out that every state has basically like a central place for the parents who homeschool their children. And so sometimes it would be like a website where you can place, basically distribute a news or a message to all the people who are subscribed there. Sometimes it would be like literally a Facebook group. And so she found something for every single state and literally gave me, okay, if you want to talk to the parents who homeschool their children in like literally Alaska and all the way Alabama and so on and so on, this is, how you find them. And I imagine those children who study at home, they lack this social contact and interaction. And so a project like this may be uniquely suitable and beneficial to them because while they may be spending a lot of time with books and web pages, they don't have much contact with peers. And so we allow them to have the contact without having to leave the house. And so I guess we might want to try that. Estefania here asks a question for you, Jasmine, and maybe you can answer. So I didn't realize, yes, Estefania, she's originally from Colombia, but she actually now moved to Florida where she will be studying. And so she will both keep an eye on Colombia, but also was going to do some promotion in Florida. And then again, the question is, how do we know which one of you basically brought the person? So we can go by the city, obviously, but is there a better way to differentiate? And so, as I said, I will definitely have a question. How did you learn? And maybe even, if you spoke to somebody from X-Culture, give us the name. But what if we have someone who forgot the name, or maybe, so is there an easy way? Maybe we'll even literally have like a drop-down menu of your names with photos, like little picture, so that they can recognize the person they spoke to if needed. But then I assume, at least in some cases, they will actually not interact with directly. So if you put like an ad on Facebook or something. So I don't know. So that's a question. I'm not sure if you have the answer now. I guess we can even literally create clone pages. And so depending on, which ones speak, you give slightly different link and they go to a different page. But if you have any ideas, please let me know.
One of the things that because I know I'm supposed to be doing Florida, but I do have family in other places, and I have talked to several people. And one of the suggestions that actually my husband came up with, but I don't know if it will be easy to track, is to actually create YouTube videos to kind of talk about X-Culture. I know we're working on the whiteboard animation, but I know you mentioned in one of the emails to find a way for us to get our own websites if needed to. And I'm not an IT person, but I know that sometimes if a person gets into the application link through another URL, it leaves a tracing of where it came from. So I don't know how complicated that would be.
Yeah, online should be relatively easy. So if it's something they see and click on, add video, whatever else, maybe your blog, that shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to trace that. So as I said, it's a little more difficult when you speak to someone or when you give a piece of paper to someone and then they come to our general page. So they lose the piece of paper, they forget you, but they remember X-Culture, they find the page. So that's when it becomes problematic. With the handouts, what we'll do also, we will have this CQR code, like those little squares. And so we will put it on every handout that you will give out. And so this way, when people will be, going to the web page, instead of typing the page, the address, first of all, we can have slightly different email, a link, but we can also encode a different link in the SQR, whatever that code. And so this way, when they scan it with their phone and go to the page, it can be your page. So we can know that that's, how the person came. And so that's relatively easy to do. As I said, let's just see how it happens. I'm happy even, honestly, if in doubt, it's not such a big deal. If there is any slightest indication that it could have been your person, even if we have two people, I'll just say, you both get something out of this. So we'll just, count twice. Hopefully it will not be too many cases. And so I don't worry too much about it. But for the future, we might want to think about some reliable system, and let's just test and see how it happens. And initially, I assume the numbers will not be so large that we have to fight about it, but we'll have here. And Estefania also asks about other locations. Same thing, I didn't like the word regional too much, because I don't want it to be limited to a specific, geographic boundary. You may have friends in other cities. You may travel to other cities. You may do some advertisement online, and it may not even be, locked into a specific region. So therefore, as I said, we'd like to have a system in place where we can trace your work no matter, where geographically it comes from. And let's say we may have several people, let's say, for example, in Miami. But as I said, maybe somebody does mainly online advertisement, doesn't go to any school, doesn't talk to anyone, just places clever ads for that area or for global area. And I don't see a problem with that. In fact, if anyone turns out to be very effective at that, maybe that person will do our global promotion, because I'm obviously not good at that. And so for now, we don't want to limit it to a specific area, even though you've provided an area that you want to be responsible for. And in the letter, I did clarify that or put that area, but please don't lock yourself into that specific region only. So do whatever you feel is necessary at this stage.
Do you have anybody in Mexico right now?
No, we don't have anyone.
Okay, well, FYI, if you start getting registrations, they're coming from me. I already have some people that have been recruited.
Okay, we have a lot of universities from Mexico, but unfortunately, not anyone who volunteered for this job. Anisha also asked about LinkedIn. Yes, absolutely, by all means. The only problem is I'm completely oblivious of how LinkedIn works. I have an account created some years ago. I have like 1,000, maybe more connections. Like every day I get an email that somebody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, and like once a week I just go there and accept all. But I have no idea what that is, how it works. It looks to me just like Facebook, but on Facebook at least people post something interesting, and on LinkedIn everybody just wants to connect and nothing happens. So maybe I just don't know how to use it. But yes, if you do, please, yes, absolutely. We want to be on LinkedIn as well, because I know it's an important tool. I just never figured that out. So hopefully with your help we'll conquer it. All right, so let's stop here. I'll probably organize these meetings twice a week or so. You don't have to attend them, obviously, only if you have questions or you want to talk. The recordings will be available, so if you missed something and want to watch it later, that's fine too. If you want to talk to me personally, just send me an email. But as I said, I'll try to have these live sessions at least twice a week. And I assume most of the time, most of you will have nothing to say, so you can just either ignore them or just open but not participate. But every time you want to, we will call it business hours. So those would be the times when I'm online and you can always connect with me and talk to me. The reason also for that is it's not always for me possible to talk to you whenever you have a question. Obviously, I have my own lectures to teach. I have some other meetings. I have all kinds of other things going on. And so, and plus there are 30 of you at this time already, and there will be probably more soon. And so, if we wanted to talk to each one just for an hour, that would be like, for example, now we had 9 people and we spent an hour and a half. So if I had to talk about these things with you individually, that would have been like 1.5 business day for me. So obviously that's not efficient. It's not a good way to spend the time. So therefore we'll have those group meetings, like twice a week or so. And so this way you always know when you can join and we can talk. And, it's always better to speak in a group because we get some ideas maybe, So, but in any case, but if you want to talk to me individually, if it's something personal, you know how to find me, email me or connect with me via Skype or Facebook. And we'll talk and So I'll try to have another meeting sometime, maybe Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday, and then maybe again. So maybe we'll do like, I don't know, Tuesday, Friday, or Wednesday and Saturday, so that one time it's on weekend, one time it's during the day. So this way, whichever your preference, I will be available. So next several weeks will be a lot of talking because there are so many questions. So I will be available, and hopefully then we'll get it figured out. My biggest hope and plan and goal and necessity is that, hopefully one of you will be better than, or will be so good, or will be good enough that you will take over this program, because I have other things that I need to do, and I really, really need a CEO who will run this team. So I can focus then more on the X-Culture University, but I need someone who can take charge of X-Culture Kids or Academy for now. By the way, Academy, why do we call it Academy? Because we have some non-students or pre-college students who are not kids anymore. And the worry was that if we call it X-Culture Kids, it sounds great for children ages, let's say 9 to 13, 14. But when you have a teenager who's 17, and I suspect most of the participants will be children of that age who want to strengthen their resume before college. If we call it kids, it may not sound right for them. So we thought Academy will be a little more universal. And second, we would like you to be able to recruit not only children, but also non-student participants. If you have a friend who wants to participate himself, herself, if you have someone who wants a promotion and wants to strengthen their resume, if you have a student friend who just doesn't happen to be in a class that participates in X-Culture, please bring them too. They will all be Academy. They may have slightly different challenges and expectations, but other than that, it will be exactly the same program for all of them. They'll get training, again, maybe slightly simpler for the kids, more advanced for the adults. But for all the purposes, they will be treated all as X-Culture participants. Obviously, the teams will not be mixed by age. So if it's children age 9, it will be children age 9, and then 10 and 11 and so on, so that all people are the same age. Other than maybe once you're like older than 18, I guess we can have some mix. So if like somebody's 30 and somebody's 25, I guess it's not a big problem. But the younger ones will be separated by age. Yes. Yes, Jasmine, something else?
Yeah, you said the non-students. You've been doing this for 3 to 4 years now with them. Will they still participate with the college students, or they'll have a separate?
We always kept them separate. We always kept them separate.
Okay.
So once they are in the system, we don't really care. Meaning once we place them on teams with other professionals, we don't even track anymore if they're students or professionals. I mean, we know, and we did some studies, but we treat them exactly the same way. They get exactly the same performance evaluations, exactly the same certificates, exactly the same recommendation letters, and everything else. So they do the same surveys, they do the same peer evaluations, but we keep them separate mainly because, first of all, they're a little older. Second, because we know that mixing undergraduates and MBA students is a problem. And so here we also want to keep the professionals and the students separate just because of those different demographics. Same thing with kids. But the difference there is that we will just have some old children teams, or teams that are all like ages 10, 11, for example. Teams that are all MBA, teams that are all executive MBA, teams that are all undergraduate students, teams that are all non-student adults. But other than that, they will see the same thing, do the same thing. We may have slightly different expectations for children just because, obviously they have less training and less mature. But other than that, it will be the same program.
Okay. And just going back to the recommendations that I got when I spoke with Dr. Reddick's class, some of them mentioned that a lot of their teammates were a lot younger than they were. And I told them that that's part of the challenge, because I don't think it's because I'm an executive MBA, I shouldn't be with a person that's in a regular MBA program or working on their international business bachelor. Because I honestly, and this is my answer to them, in the labor force, when you're in a company, they're going to pair you up with 5 individuals from different countries, different levels of knowledge, different experience. And that's what makes the team even better, because not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody's at the same level of education. And not having more education doesn't make you a better candidate.
Exactly.
Or better team member.
That's exactly the issue, that in the real world, you can have co-workers who are younger, who are older. So yes, absolutely, it's a much more realistic preview. Another problem is that eMBA seems to be much more an American thing, and so we have always several eMBA courses, but pretty much all of them happen to be from the United States. And so the problem is that it's hard to find other countries where you have those older people in their 40s with managerial experience who go back to school. And so we just physically didn't have anyone older to pair them up with. So therefore they had to be paired up with regular students. I mean, not regular students. So they all had with masters. But again, some of those were masters, right out of college. And so many of them were like 25, 26 years old as opposed to 40. But again, that's the realities of today's both project as well as,
Yes, sir.
All right. So thank you so much for your attention. We will be in touch. I will share this video also with those who couldn't attend in person, and we'll have them regularly. So hopefully we'll also find a program that allows everyone to join easily and discuss and talk, because this one, somehow I'm not 100% happy. So let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.